my goodness. Help. Help. Hello, hello, hello. And welcome to another One Line of Code. I am One Lion. I am still wearing my microphone from my Zoom meeting. I don't have very much water, but hi, I see Thindle. Hello, Thindles. How have you been? I hope you're having a fantastic Monday so far. I was having a great one. I was getting a lot done this morning. And then we've been having an issue with our build pipeline. So I was working with my project manager to get a PR reviewed for. Okay. What was I saying? Getting the PR reviewed that fixes the build pipeline. There's still a small issue in it, but overall the build works, and that's what we really care about. So this is separate from that situation that you helped me with, Thindle. So we fixed that one. And so just to tell you what that one was real quick, since you were so very helpful, it ended up being that what man, my throat, I am so shaky right now from that conversation. So I apologize if I come across as sounding nervous. Okay, so as you might know, I use Sass, and part of my Sass process is that web compiler. Oh, I guess I don't have it in this one because I'm never publishing and running the pipeline on it. But I have reference to the web compiler NuGet, so that when a build happens, it generates the .css files. Unfortunately, it looks like that step happens. Do I have any isolated CSS? I better have isolated CSS in this. Wherever it is. When a build happens, this .scss file gets compiled in or transpiled into this CSS file because of this compiler config. These CSS files during build have a, why are you empty? Have a step that goes from this .css file into obj. What? Nuh-uh. Obj scope CSS bundle, and it generates this file. And so as what I showed on the stream that you were helping me with was the only thing that showed up in that file was something that kind of looked like this. And so that wasn't happening in my local dev. And so what was actually happening was at some point in time for the past, oh my gosh, words. Some point in time in the past, I had added the .css files that were being generated for my scope CSS. So all of my .razor.css and .razor.min.css, I had added them to my git ignore so they wouldn't get checked into the repo, since a build would generate those files. But what I think happened is after doing that, the build process tried to do the consolidate everything into that scope CSS first and then run web compiler. So it happened in the wrong order where the CSS files didn't exist, the isolated CSS files. So I reverted the change. I took them out of my git ignore. But another thing that kept happening was we weren't making any changes to the Sass files, and yet the CSS files were still showing up as tracked changes in here. So I would see a whole bunch of .razor.css files in my git changes, and then I would try to commit that, and then there were no actual changes because it was just a date timestamp change, most likely, from recompiling the file with no content changes. I didn't want to see that, and so I was complaining about it, and my project manager was like, well, have you heard of the, why don't I see the .git folder? Good grief, I'm so blind. Anyway, have you heard of the info exclude file? Because that will make it so that you don't see the CSS changes in there. And I didn't think hard enough about that. But essentially, he recommended that I add my star.razor.css into here. So this file is essentially a .getignore for your local machine only. This does not get pushed to the repo. Anything that you have in here acts just like you have it in getignore, but for that folder specifically for your local repo. And so I was making all of these changes. Yeah, I had never heard of this file. I was making all of these changes to CSS. I was updating styles, and none of them were getting pushed to the repo when I checked in because this file was essentially saying ignore any .razor.css changes. But I didn't think of that because the way that it was explained to me, and again, this is my fault for not actually thinking about it and just taking the answer that I was given. My thought was that I just won't see it in my git changes, which that doesn't make sense that that it would get pushed to the repo if I don't see it in my git changes. So I have no idea what I was thinking. No clue whatsoever. I want to add this. So I just downloaded CodeRush because on Friday we rated C# Fritz, and that was where I first heard that CodeRush is free currently. So I was like, may as well try it. Why not? But I don't want it pushed with my repo. So I'm going to add it to getignore real quick. And then we'll talk some more. Where are my solution? I don't have my solution folder. Add existing file. Add existing item. Dot. Oh my gosh, I'm so blind. Getignore. And let's add .cr/*/*. That's get attributes. Help me. Help me. Okay, so then the fun that I was talking about earlier, by the way, was that after we did the branch build, after I helped him merge the conflicts. So there were merge conflicts when the fix for the pipeline was being put, and it was just a YAML file. And he's like, how do I keep all of the new YAML file and then ignore all of the previous YAML file changes? I'm like, just push accept incoming. So I helped him through that, and then we merged it. And then he's like, well, now let's work on merging yours, because I have a branch that needed to be merged. Okay, and that gets rid of... Why didn't that get rid of this? How do I still see this? I'll need help with that in a second. So he's like, let's take care of getting your branch merged for those changes. And some of the changes needed to be made in a library, I think, that he created. And so he's like, well, don't touch that library. Only touch it if I tell you to. So he talked me through the changes that I had to make in that library, in one file in that library, in order for me to do the work that I needed to do in the branch for that user story. And I was like, I already made the changes, they're in the PR. And he's like, well, let me talk you through the ones that need to be changed. And I'm like, you surely do trust me. Thank you for that vote of confidence, sir. Why? Why doesn't this thing like me? Oh, it's gone. One of them did it. Which one did it? Was it this one? I wasn't paying attention. So anyway, I felt bad about that. So moving on though, we are now in the stream. So I see lots of people present and not sure. Hello. Glad I was able to show you a thing that I was shown on Friday before the .exclude for exclude file. And you're welcome, Rain Dance. I hope it is helpful. Actually, I solved the problem with your code, so I checked the stream, copy code, and changed it a little bit. Now it works great. I do want to see it. I do. So we're going to take a look at this in a second once I catch up on the rest of chat. But on Friday, we were working with Rain Dance, who has a PostgreSQL, or just Postgres, database that he's using Entity Framework for, and he has these enums, Postgres enums, which are a specific type. Aha, cool. And so he went the route of, or they, sorry, I don't mean to assume your pronouns. They went the route of using an extension method to convert from the string to the enum. And we created an enum C# class, which is different than a Postgres enum. But we are essentially representing the enums from that specific type in that database as C# enums. And then we put, I think we used we used extension methods for that. No, we used attributes. We used the enum member attribute so that we could set a friendly name, and that's what gets stored in the database, and then we can go back and forth from the enum to the friendly string name or the string to the actual enum type. But he added this, they added this. That's awesome. And then the other change made, I said I was going to catch up on chat first, but this is really cool stuff. The other change made was mapping the enums to the entities here, Postgres enums. And that was it. There was nothing else that you needed to do. Actually, I don't see it. How did you create, because this is the part I was really interested in. How did you create the user status column, for example, so that it gets populated with that enum and then can map back and forth? Check the user entity. Aha. Okay, user status, JSON converter. Nice, very nice. That is awesome. Oh, but still, you are just using the JSON converter. Wait, this works though? Because this kind of looks to me like you would be storing the actual enum value in the database table instead of the friendly name. But I didn't see the user entity in the on model creating, did I? Because I'm blind. Okay, so there is this create enum to string converter. And that is how you are assigning the column for status to the enum friendly name. And then back and forth. That is awesome. I'm so glad you were able to figure that out though. This looks really clean too. Irish John Games is here. Gosh, so so behind. Speaking of let's do a couple of really quick shout outs. One to Thindle. Thank you again for helping me last Wednesday, I believe it was. Just giving me those ideas about the pipeline build and then just being awesome. If you aren't following Thindle, he is another amazing .NET developer. And then, did I just type Irish John Games? Oh, Dukasoft did. Thank you, Dukasoft. So we'll do a proper shout out command for Thindle. so that you can just follow him. But if you don't know Irish John Games, Irish John Games creates this amazing game called is creating an amazing game called Rise of Piracy. Check it out on Steam's with 2 bangs. That's how exciting it is. So exciting. And then I'm gonna borrow your bot, Dukasoft. Thank you so much, Dukasoft bot. So if you want to see Thindle's work, one of the many things that he does or has done is created an extension in Visual Studio so that when you open an XML file or a .json file, you can have your content masked, your values masked, so that you aren't leaking any of your secrets. This works on any XML, any JSON file. One day he'll pick it back up and get it to work on YAML. Fun fact, if you read something with no tracking and include one of the child items, and you modify the collection of child items, they won't get modified when you attach it to the root. That makes sense to me. That does make sense to me. Okay, what other chat did I miss? So yes, that's awesome, Rain Dance. I am so glad that that worked. And I'm sure you could have figured it out, but I'm glad I was able to help contribute to you being able to figure it out. President Not Sure was responding to R. Sharma. Hello, R. Sharma. Welcome into the One Line of Code stream. I'm new to C# and I can't understand C++. Oh, new to computer science and can't understand C++ concepts. Like pointers and data structures are so hard. I feel like I'm too dumb. Please be kind to yourself. You don't have to. I mean, you can still, like, if that's motivating to you, which I doubt it is, you can degrade yourself, but I know that you can do it. Let me tell you a really, really fast story. I started university in 2000, and this is me shaming myself, and it doesn't feel good doing this, so I hope you just get something out of it. Started university in 2000. I had done some VBA macros and some VB6 and Commodore 64 type stuff before, but I had never done real programming. And so my freshman year of college was the first time I encountered C++ and Java, and I did both of those at the same time. Not a good idea for me, at least. And I couldn't understand a lick of it. It was the hardest thing ever. I really did not get object-oriented programming. So like VB6 is event-driven with some object-oriented type stuff, but everything else was just like public static main string args. What is that? What even do any of these words mean? Kind of thing. Like, I thought that you just get a screen where you can draw your form on it, double click on a button, and write a little bit of code to make the button do something. But all of those concepts were just so hard, and they make oh, Dukasoft. Irish John Games. I hate having to go back and change like 500 keys. Oh yeah, for no docs. But yeah, so the point of the story is my freshman year, I'm going to admit this out loud. My freshman year, I essentially failed out of the entire semester. And then I tried it again the second semester, and I tried fewer things. And I still didn't get it, so I got a really low grade, but it was passing. Thindle says, I just skipped computer science. And then I started working I was working during the time, but it was tough. Money was really, really tough at the time. So I started working, and I was working a full-time job with overtime and going to classes full-time. So then I still have nightmares about it, like failing out of classes, having to drop classes, because if not, I would accept a failing grade instead of a drop. And had a lot of talks with my what are they called? Counselors? You know, the deans and stuff, who happened to also be my counselor. So I talked with him a lot, and I just struggled for the first 4 years. And then finally, things started clicking in about the 5th year. I doubled down, and I eventually graduated university with a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. And yeah. And then I kept doing more and more software development. Things started clicking more until it just became fun instead of a slog. So if you hang with it for a while, you too can be successful at software development if it's the thing that you want to do. Now that you're doing computer science and you're struggling with these things, are you finding that maybe you're not wanting to actually do it? Because I'm sure you're not too dumb for it. It just takes, as President Not Sure said, it just takes some work. Repetition is the key to learning. Break things down into small pieces and just break things in general, honestly. And eventually things start to make sense. So break things. Break lots and lots of things. You get a piece of code, pick it apart, see if you can understand it, and then put it together your way. Not gonna happen too soft. Oh, I've already outed myself as far as being a college flunky for at least 4 years. So it took me 9 years to graduate college, by the way, with a bachelor's. Tyrant says, yeah, I've been doing it for decades and I find learning CS stuff is 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, but that's still forward progress. Bindle said, maybe you're just in the wrong queue and should be getting out of prison today. I don't know what I said for that. I think at least one person got that reference. Maybe President Not Sure got that reference. I don't know who, but it certainly wasn't me. Okay, so thank you again, Rain Dance, for sharing. Any of you that have not yet, I think it's a good time. Follow Thindao. You should see a heart icon up there. Again, a .NET developer doing modernization projects, going from .NET Framework, .NET Core, maybe a little bit of Blazor for some admin pages, and yeah, just all around good time. Not a little bit. Lots of it. Yes, that is awesome to hear. Okay, now that I've taken an hour, why isn't this formatting for me? And why did Control Z take me to this window? Is that a CodeRush thing? Okay, so we're going to struggle through using CodeRush, by the way. As I mentioned, I can't even Control W. Why is Control W not closing the window for me? Did it overwrite all of my keyboard shortcuts? That's one thing that I can't stand when extensions do. They steal my keyboard shortcuts and overwrite them. Because there's a beta, obviously. No, it's Control W still. Control W is not working in this file. Thank you so much for the follow, Strips. Really appreciate you. Welcome in. If you've been here for a while, then you already know who we are. Otherwise, I will say a little bit about myself. I am a one lion. Control W is doing something different, something that I'm not expecting it to. It's selecting word. That's what it looks like. That's really annoying. Yeah, okay. So CodeRush does have their own keyboard shortcuts page. I don't know if I'm going to like it because I've already gotten so used to my current flow, but I will try it out for a bit. Yeah, absolutely. So what kind of stuff are you doing in Blazor then, Strips? We are working on a project called the Financial Management Tracker. And the main reason that we're working on this project is because I needed something to do on the stream. I used to be able to stream my job, my actual day job, and I streamed an entire day less 2 hours, an entire day's work every weekday. Then I got a new job where I wasn't allowed to stream the content or stream the work that I do. So I still wanted to stream. And since it's adding to my workday schedule, then I decided to knock it down to 2 hours. And then I knocked it down to 2 hours every other day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that's why we are at this point, but we are doing this project in specific so that we can see the entire dev stack, the entire dev process, because that is what I was streaming. I was streaming managing 8 or 9 web applications and 3 desktop applications and modernizing them, going from VB6 to VB.NET to Blazor, and then JSP to Blazor, or to MVC and then to Blazor. And that was a ton of fun, but things changed. And I'm not able to do that anymore. Where was I going? I was going to Figma. So for this project, we did the entire thing. It is currently on the YouTubes if you want to watch it from the beginning. I'm ignoring it if you couldn't tell. I think I'm signed in with Google. Does anyone know how I'm signed in? Google. Great. All right, so we did everything from designing what the landing page should look like, the overall look and feel, maybe some color palettes that we might use throughout the app. We're still not solid on the design. We will rework this design, but I did want to have a basic kind of layout and flow and approach. So we did that. Then we talked about database backends. Actually, this wasn't the first thing that we did now. Don't know why I'm starting here. It was just the easiest to show. So we started with, what is this project for? What do we want it to do? Then we talked about database backing design, what technologies we're going to use where, application architecture, we talked about that. And then we did the UI sketching and then Figma, and then started implementing it. And we are at the point where we have almost all of the functionality completed. And I've been saying this for what, 4 weeks now? 5 weeks? But we are on the last thing. I think it's the last thing. Strip says, oh, nice. I've been doing some financial tracking apps myself. Haven't done it myself, though. Well, I started a new job as a software developer. Congratulations. After working as a manager for 6 years, so I'm basically knowledge-wise fresh out of school when it comes to development. So I'm doing a poker result tracking app for my friend in that tech stack. That's awesome to practice. And since it's the tech stack that my new job uses, then you are benefiting from it. That is so cool to hear. But this is what the app currently looks like. Once again, try to ignore the styling because we will improve on the styling. We'll look at the functionality specifically right now. So this app has 3 different, the whole purpose of the app, by the way, since I didn't actually say it, is so that you can manually track your own finances. Not so that it can connect to an API and pull in your finances. We have things like Mint and other software like that. I currently have an Access application. Access, I don't know, I'm currently using Access to do this. And so that connects to a SQL server and uses the Access forms. And yes, I'm talking about Microsoft Access. I've been using it since 2014. I've been a .NET developer since 2014. And it's like, why am I still using Access in 2023 when I could just be doing this as a full stack app, whether it's in web or on mobile or desktop. So I was like, let's turn it into our stream project. So this is what it currently looks like for being able to manually track transactions. You enter the date of the transaction. Oh yeah, so we have 3 different types of transactions: a payment, a deposit, and a transfer. Payments are when you are using one of your tracked accounts to use money to purchase something, essentially, or to pay to an external account. Deposits are when you are receiving money from an external account to one of your tracked accounts, and transfers are moving money between accounts, tracked accounts. So a payment, you just put in the information like so. Actually, we're gonna get some DJ services from Deflux, and this was for our community day coming up on 2023 6 20 20 30. We're going to have Deflux DJ for us on our next community day, and so I am purchasing some of his services. He's probably going to charge us an arm and a leg. So it's going to be 2320 monetary units. All right, thank you for dropping by, though, and for the follow. I'll be here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Typically, unless I have to cancel the stream because work. And then we'll say that it already posted because, I mean, it's Deflux. He gets his money right away, and we'll pay it from our credit charge. One thing that we were able to do is tell our credit card that whenever we charge something from it to it, that this number goes up. The balance goes up when you are charging to a credit card. The balance goes down when you are charging to a checking, savings, other cash account. So we did that. We can see that our current balance went up. It didn't go into our pending amount because I already gave it a posted date. And so the total balance on our credit charge went up because of this. And I'm like, wait. He also charged us sales tax. So I'm editing the transaction right now. It was like 123 monetary units. And then he also charged us a surcharge, you know, because he can. And that was 0.23 monetary units. And so we update that. And now that value has been updated everywhere. Yeah, cool. So that works. And then the deposit is taking money from one account or from an external account and moving it into one of your accounts. An example deposit would be something like a regular paycheck of 12.54 because we work for peanuts. So you can see that when we, and I don't have the posted date in here, so when we add a deposit, then the amount on that cash account goes up, but it stays pending until we put in a pending date. And if I say yesterday or 2 days ago, it's like, you can't use that date. That is before the transaction date. So let's use yesterday. And there you go. Cool. So deposits work. Transfers are moving money from one account to another. So we're going to pay off our credit card bill today. Actually, I really don't know if I have validation rules for posted date being in the future. Huh. We'll check that with this one. And we'll pay off the entire balance, because who doesn't pay off their entire balance for their credit charge bill? And we're going to pay it from checking to credit card. And it's going to be a credit card payment. You don't have to put that. I mean, you would know if you're tracking it yourself that going from checking to credit card is a credit card payment. But this is one of those things where we might want to do things like tag transactions with various categories or whatever so that it's easier to group them together. Okay, so we did that, and now we have a it didn't. Oh yeah, it did. Okay. So now we have a pending balance that is negative in our credit charge, and definitely a pending balance that is negative in our checking. So when we say that this has posted, we will apply those and we will see that the actual amount in our credit charge is $0 with 0 monetary units with 7.23 monetary units pending. And then our checking account went bleh. If this pending charge gets processed, then we will have an overdraft and just be in a bad position. But that's fine. So yeah, that's all about doing the manual account tracking for yourself, transaction tracking. So we needed a way to be able to modify the values that are in these drop downs, to add and remove and modify existing. And so that's what this list management tab is for. So we can see the 5 different, actually it's only 4 different drop down types. And then this categories is actually supposed to go with payees. But for now, we're just working on only being able to add, edit, and delete items, or mark deleted, I should say. So we got add to work. So one of our account types can be another account type. And you can see that that shows up here. If I refresh the app, which means it's going to go back to the database to requery, then you see that it persisted because we have a SQL backing store. Edit, we now have where it is turning this into a text box and removing all of the edit and delete buttons from the other items. I will tell it to put the focus in the appropriate text box. Wonder how I'm going to do that. But we'll tell it to put the focus in the text box and then have the check mark actually submit the change to the database. And then of course the delete button will just undo whatever changes we were starting to make. Simple. Very simple. Okay, so now that I've explained the app, we'll go back and read all of Findle's fun jokingness. Skipping over the jokes about breasts. You happen to go back and change like 500 keys. That's why no docs exists. We read Tyrant's thing. Didn't get the reference. Those are cool emotes, ring dance. You know what? You know what? Interesting. The people that I usually follow aren't really streaming currently. That I usually lurk on, I should say. Closer than I thought I'd be. Oh, yeah. Okay, so for the Blazor content on Thindle's channel, he was saying it's not just a little bit, it's a ton of bits. I'm like, closer than I thought I'd be. That's so cool to hear. I think there's a button to reset all your shortcuts to default. I don't want to do that because I already set up all of my my buttons. So I'll probably just re-import my settings instead. But the weird thing is that Control W in my keyboard settings is showing up as file close file. So I'm afraid that even if I do reset it here, that it's going to ignore it. That code rush is still going to overwrite it. So like right now, Control W is select word is what it looks like. Not even word. Select. Well, I guess maybe word. I don't know. Because it's like jumping right over the backslashes and the dot. Select region almost. I don't know that I like that. But I really am used to that being close window because Control F4 is a little bit harder to push for me. I'd rather push Control W, but I can go back to pushing Control F4. Just gonna try it out. We read that. Dukasoft is not a bad mod. Dukasoft, amazing mod. I'm convinced about following solid principles to the letter. Use them as a helper, not a law. I'm not convinced. I was like, if you're convinced about it, then why are you telling us? So you're not using the Access DB backend. Well, I'll kind of allow it then. So I used to, though. It used to be fully contained access file that I just moved wherever I needed it to add my transactions into. And then I was like, well, I want to learn Entity Framework, so maybe I'll create a SQL database. And at the time it was database first. So I was like, I'll create the database and then use that database to learn Entity Framework. And that was a bad idea. But I did leave it in SQL and then just told Access to reference the SQL tables. Or link to, I guess. But anyway, okay, so we are at the edit step. I'm still trying to close the file using Control W. Control F4. So if you happen to know anything that, like while I'm working on this, that CodeRush would help me with, then please let me know so I can start getting used to keyboard shortcuts and using CodeRush. Otherwise, we'll just keep on keeping on. So what? Oh yeah, Control KD. Does that chord still work? Yeah, why are you taking me all the way down to my cursor, which I don't remember it doing for normal Control KD format document. Hello, good VJ. Happy Monday. Yeah, it is. But like every single time that How are things going, good VJ? Have you started classes yet? Ooh, there's going to be so much to get used to. Why did I do this to myself? Because it's free. Orientation is this week. Classes from next week. Awesome. Awesome. And what classes are you starting with? Do you have to do, like, was this a technical college that are specific to computer science or information systems or whatever? Or is this a full university where you have to take undergrad classes and... Right, master's degree. Thank you for reminding me. I'm terrible at this. I am terrible at remembering things. People keep being rude and reporting bugs. I mean, what did they expect? That I'd build something that works? Isn't it weird? It's the weirdest thing ever. First class might be on UX. Cool. What bugs? I don't see any bugs, just a slew of features. Okay, anyway. What am I even looking for? I'm looking for the actual functionality here for saving and updating items. We already have add new item working. So now we need to save an existing item. So cancel just discards the edited item, which I think is a clone of the item being edited. Handle change star changes clicked. Oh, handle cancels. What? Oh, cankle. That's intended, even though I spelled it wrong. Thank you. It's a feature. Got it. All right, so it's supposed to say, I told you I spelled it wrong. Handle cankle changes clicked. I'm like a feckin' eagle tonight, I swear. Oh, yeah. Are you still sitting like 80 miles away from your screen right now? Hanging about? Which you don't have to answer if your keyboard is too far away. Okay, so that just discards our edited item. Working and lurking. Cool. Well, I will not draw your keyboard focus to this chat too often. Actually, I won't at all unless you are talking to me. Then I'll talk back with you. Macaulay's an eagle. Funny. Oh no. Please don't. I do not like having coffee on my face. Look, you got it on my little sheet. How dare. Since I don't have one of those like full desk mats, I just use these lint-free t-shirt cloth things for my no, not my weenus, for my wrist. These are called wrists. I know words. Because yes, I am too lazy to pick out a wrists. Wrists. Okay, add. We're confirming the change for add. So first we see, are there any changes? If edit, if not editing, or, oh my gosh, having trouble typing. Someone teach me how to type, please. Edit item dot, oh, edit item question mark dot, no. Edit item is null, which means that we're not actually editing a thing. Or edit, hello GokuJax, edit item dot display text does not equal item dot display text. Ooh. Are we passing the original item? Yes, we're passing the original item to save changes. I was like, if we pass the edit item, that's a bad idea. So if we are, sorry, Do we care about it being trimmed? No. We'll let the user decide whether they want to change the case. So this will be a case sensitive comparison, as well as allowing for leading and trailing spaces. That's up to the user to decide whether they want leading or trailing spaces in their lookup items. Not my fault if they screw it up. So anyway, if we aren't editing, or the edit item is null, or we aren't making any changes to the actual display text, then we don't do anything. Just like the pirates that don't do anything. Otherwise, we will update the edited item by using our service? No, we need to use our lookup list state. And am I doing that in a switch up here too? That's stupid. We should be fine to use the single method because it will be a generic. And it'll be able to determine the type on that generic. So let's hope we can do that. Var update resp is equal to await lookup list state, I hope, dot update dot edit dot, is it not even written yet? I know that we have it in our service. And the reason that I'm passing it through lookup list state instead of going directly to the service, by the way, is because I have a cached list of lookup items. And so I want my lookup list state to modify that lookup item on successful update. Or am I just going to use the refresh list async? So this is a question that I have seen discussed before a few times. So when you're using a REST API, for example, which this one has a REST-ish API, as well as the ability to directly call server-side logic services, depending on how the app is running. The question is, when you update a record, should you, from your UI, pass your updated DTO to your API, so you do your HTTP request, that responds with whether it was successful or not, and then the URL typically for where to get that resource, so that you can requery for that resource. But that's 2 API requests when you already have the updated value in your DTO on your client side that says, if it was successful, then I just need to apply the changes to my local model. So I don't need a second API call or a second service call. Which approach is the industry standard, correct, whatever you want to call it, way? Because for me, it's just update my local model. Especially in this case, when it's just one field. Oh, when did, oh, right. I was like, when did async happen? Anyway, it's a thought. We'll get there when we get there, which I think is now. What? So shared interfaces, lookup service, update lookup item. So yes, we should have it implemented on for the API, and we should have it implemented for the server. I usually do await task.complete and then return nothing instead, but I have no idea which one is better. Not in... So that's not what I'm talking about in this case. In this case, what I'm asking about is when we send a record to be updated in the database from the UI, we send that record request as a put, if it's to an API, as a put, and then we get back usually 200 OK or whatever HTTP status message is appropriate for saying that this resource was updated successfully, if it was successful. So then we don't really get the updated object back. We only get back whether it was successful or not. So now on the client side, we have this thing where we have a cached item in our list of items, our list of lookup item view models, that we need to patch with the updated value. So the question is, do we do the second HTTP request to get the updated item, which is a second call to the API, which is a second request to the database, or do we just patch the item locally on the client with the DTO that we sent? If you're doing a pure REST API 200 OK, it's more of a HTTP based gRPC. I think the patch is a bad idea. Oh. Ah. I think returning the updated object. Yeah, and that's the thing though. So that is one thing that I wanted to do, and at some point in time, and I can't remember whether I read it somewhere as best practice, but the put request should return how to get the updated resource and not the actual updated object. But that is what I want to do. Like, that's what my inclination is to do. Yeah, seriously, stop reading REST rules as gospel. You're right. You're right. Use them to make, use them how they make sense to you. I like that. I'm definitely open to that approach as long as I'm not doing something so far out. Oh man, I missed a follow. Thank you, Christian. Christian? Florian? That was like 12 minutes ago. That was a long time ago. Cool. So we'll then get a response model of lookup item view model for our update request, where the thing that this will return is the updated model after updating the database and then converting the updated record back to our DTO/view model. Yeah, not even fully request, like it doesn't request doesn't support bodies. Fully support. It just doesn't. They can? That's interesting. So yeah, like when you do a search request that has an advanced search type of thing with sort fields and stuff, and the only way to get it to your request is some kind of URL encoded string or just directly the query string with weird stuffs. Interesting. So you could write your own server-side controller functionality for getting the body from a GET request. Inna wants to know if Tyron knows what layer 8 is. And then he also said, I was going to shoot some headshots, but I'm hella sweaty and it's gonna show. Time for some TV makeup. So you were gonna play a game, I guess? The best layer of cake. I do now that I looked it up on Wikipedia. Is that the presentation layer? I don't know what layer 8 is. But yeah, like I've had so many pausing moments where it's like, oh, the individual person. The meatware. Anyway, I've had to like stop development for a half second. I guess it's more than a half second because it took a lot of time to determine when I do this search, this advanced search, and I want to pass an object as the thing that I want to use to generate the search, because it was a pretty big object. How do I do that? Because this is getting data from the server. It's not a post, it's a get. But I can't pass body in a get request, so I do it as a post. Am I being a bad person for doing that? OSI stuff. So yeah, I'm going to update this to be a response model of Lookup Item so that we can get that back from our service. And I could do that with create, but right now create is already done, where the only thing that I pass back is the create record ID, which again, for a pure REST API, this would be a response of created at, and then you pass the ID so that you can get the URL for the resource to be able to get the new record on another. Layer 8 is the layer of feelings, the emotional layer of TCP/IP. I'm having a moderately good layer 8 day. That's awesome. That's really cool to hear. Implementations. I need to update implementations. Here's my update. I got to update. I'll fix that in a second. And actually, this one is going to be the easiest one to update. So let's do that one first. And no, it's not, because where's my deserialize? Oh, wait, what? What did I just update? This is the server service. The client service is going to be the easier one to fix because we just need to update this to deserialize to Lookup Item view model. Great. That's not going to be super easy. Here's how we can do this. We can go var res, just resp. No. Var typed resp equals this. And then ret resp dot return. Is it just called data? Data typed resp dot data. What are you doing, keyboard? Stop bouncy. And then ret resp dot add errors typed resp. Okay, so I have a way, don't I? Dang it. I have an add errors overload, plural errors, that will take another response model and take all of its errors. So if pasta was error. Then we will copy over the errors from that typed response of lookup item. And this is how I am taking the data that is a concrete type so that we don't get any deserialization errors and turning it into the interface on the response model of the interface. Okay. Tyron says, wait, I'm a little low. Start higher. Thindle says, no matter if they're emotional or meat. I got slightly called out, by the way. There's a, I don't know what CFP stands for. Open for a conference, and the organizers may have nudged me a bit. Tyron said, anyways, REST is a good baseline to start the discussion. It definitely helps in most cases, but it should not be considered to be unbending. At the end of the day, you own both sides of the contract here. It's fine. Do what you think makes the app performant and low maintenance. I'm not going to lie, that makes me feel free about making the choices that I made. That helps me be okay with making these choices. I like that. So thank you. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you for the, and I'm not saying it in a facetious way either, but thank you for allowing me to give myself the permission, or helping me give myself permission to do that. Live Coding responded to Thindle, said, it's good to be wanted. I enjoy presenting, but I don't like the long prep time. Blah. Because they want Thindle to present something. Then he said, I'm always trying to get a discussion going, which I think makes the topics really fun for all, but that isn't great if it's a conference format. Call for proposals. Okay, so RFP, request for proposal. Deflux just resubbed 25 months. 25 months. We did celebrate our 2 years. I remember celebrating our 2 years. And by the way, the most recent thing that we purchased from you was some DJ services for Community Day on Friday. And you charged me a ton. Why did you charge me this much? I don't get it. What's so good about your services? It's a steal. You even charged me that. Why would you charge me that? We're in the US. That's not a thing. Data equals to, no. I don't think that I set up AutoMapper for one. And for two, I don't have a 2-view model extension. So how am I doing it up here? We're doing a get queryable list of. That's a steal. It's a great deal. When you said you wanted the midgets to come too, that's just the additional charge. Oh my. Yeah, so how am I getting an individual item? Get queryable. First or default. So get queryable is giving me a queryable of Lookup Item view model, which is what I want back. Yeah, and here's my manual conversion. Okay, so can I turn this into an extension method? Live coding said to Thindle. Oh, GokuJax had a question. Thank you. You're so flippin' awesome, Dukasoft. GokuJax said, do I need to check if the authenticated user is still valid? You asked this on C# Fritz's channel, and it's a really good question. In case the admin deactivated his account if I use JOT. Note that the API method authorized by roles, which means the user can access it until the JOT expires. If you're using something like identity server, then I believe you have a claims table in your database. I don't know how this works. I'm guessing here, but my guess is leading me to say something about being able to revoke the user claims for that user that gets disabled. So what does this look like? View data. It's empty. My assumption will be, continues to be, that that table contains all of the active user claims. So I should have some in this database. Yes. But these are not role names or anything. These are my custom claims only. So what was in that role claims table then? Nothing. Yeah, so my assumption was that you could clear out, oh, is it this? Persisted grants. There might be some way for you to use your database user store to say that a given token is no longer allowed to access a resource. Live coding says to Thindle, well, good luck, or don't submit and play Diablo. That character won't level itself. Oh man, did I miss a whole bunch of conversation while I did that? Okay, so I've done a lot of presentations at local user groups, and they're lots of fun. Prepping takes forever for me though sometimes I can whip together a heavy discussion topic in just an hour of basic prep. And then Thindle was responding to live coding saying, if it's something like last time I was there, it's 12 tracks, 2 tracks with about 150 people, but they're pretty divided between a main hall and an off hall. A what? And then that's when live coding said, good luck. Okay. GokuJax did say that he's using the ASP.NET identity. So the way I found is to use middleware to check if the authenticated user is active with every request. Okay. So if you're on the API controller, there's another thing called a live coding. You know what these are called. Help me out. It's an attribute that you put on a controller so that you interrupt the request and then you do some custom stuff. So the authorize attribute is an example of one of them. I hope no one. Oh my goodness, brain. What are you doing? Blazor UI. Not Blazor UI. I don't know where anything is now. API. That makes sense. The API folder has my API in it. These things are called Filters. That is exactly what I am talking about. So a filter. You can use a filter attribute that will check the request in one way. So how did you set up your middleware to check if the authenticated user is active? Did you use a base authentication state provider? What is this thing called? I use it in another project. Let's go DDMS. I have a coffee filter. Not sure if that's useful. It just makes the coffee feel more chalky. That's why I'm now very much into Keurigs and French presses. Or, as Irish John is oft to call them, percolators. Everything's a percolator. No, Control W does not work. That's not the filter. That's a chalk you keep insisting on adding. Are you telling me that I shouldn't be adding chalk to my coffee anymore? That's just wrong. Jot security token handler. I called it something else. And this is from like a long time ago. At least 2 years. Models. Identity. There's a claims principal factory, but that's for my custom claims. Wasn't any of those. No, you gotta actually open the solution to be able to use F12. And now I can't find the file I was just looking at. Add server services. Huh. Maybe I don't use it anymore. So like I remember implementing a credentials provider essentially that would be configured in the middleware. So when you do .add ASP.NET Core config, no, add identity services, then I would have a add something. That's a claims principal factory that has the custom claims in it. I don't know. But I remember I used to have a base class that implemented something that all of my requests would go through when it was using authorization. And then that would build the custom claim, which just sounds like my client-side identity provider. Oh, yeah, it's got to be this. Yeah, this one is specifically for setting up my custom claims, like my preferred name and display name and all of that stuff. And then breaking out my roles into separate items as opposed to a comma separated list, which is what they come in as. Thank you for that. So that's the answer that that's the question that we're trying to answer. So Goku says, so we know the approach that he took. Use the DB context to get the user in check is active is true. Interesting, yeah. Because that sounds like a lot of work for every single authorization request or API request in general. Even the approach that I was talking about, because there are already so many calls to the database when you use identity. You can sign them out on the server when you mark them as inactive. But that still doesn't solve the problem of them still having access to resources on the client side that are behind authorized attributes. No, there's actually a thing that you can call on the server. Go with search. So this one has an authorized roles, blah, 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 blah. Actually, I don't have, whatever. We'll just add it to it. So if we have a sign out, sign in manager of your user type. And I think, and I could, no, I just want you to, I don't even get my easy refactor tools. Oh, I already don't like that. I have to go all the way through this. And it doesn't give me private. I'd have to configure that too. I want to use new things, but I don't like that. Okay, so if you update user and you say they are no longer active, then you can do sign in manager dot sign out async. The thing use signal R. Make them renew those often and fail if they no longer have access to that scope. I think that this does all of the stuff that you need to the identity user store that will prevent a user from being able to access a resource on your server side stuff. Then on the client side stuff, that's where you need to do all of the extra work, because that doesn't do anything for the client side. Because once again, let's say that I have a UI page like the search page that's behind an authorized attribute, their token will still be show that they have these roles and that they are an authorized user. So there would have to be something that gets triggered on the client side on every request that says, go check to see if I am still authorized. And so, yeah, signal R could be an answer to that. But what if the user disconnects from the internet at the exact moment that the signal R message gets broadcast? Hello, Nightlight. And then they reconnect to the internet and their JOT is still not invalidated or removed. Edge case, but possible. Or they just happen to not be on the app when they are deactivated. That is more likely. And then they come back to the app page and they already have a valid JOT because it hasn't expired yet. Then they would still have access to all of the UI, even though their request to the server would fail because you use sign out on the server. let's look at that then. So today we were finishing up the last bit of logic for update lookup item, which we are really close. I was updating the service calls so that when we update an item, they return the updated item. I just need to figure out how to get the database entity back to a view model after we update it. And that would be here. So I was going to turn this, which already exists, into an extension method to which I have. No, I have to entity model. So now I just need this to go to lookup item view model. But we took a quick detour to answer a question that GokuJax has, which is when you're using an API and you're using identity and you have an admin function to be able to deactivate a user, what is, I think it might be worded as what is the best approach, but what is a good approach for making sure that the user on their client side also gets logged out? So right now, GokuJax set it up to where on every request, there's a check for the user objects .isActive column. And if they are no longer active, then they are not authorized anymore. So my suggestion, at least on the server side, and we're going to test this right now, is to add a sign out manager or a sign in manager. And when the request is made to invalidate a user or to deactivate them, which we will do by doing a search request, I don't even know if I can run this app. Probably not the best app to do this on, because I don't know if it runs. So then on the server, if this happens, then that should mean that the user will no longer have be authorized to access any resources that are behind authorized attributes using that jot. I have no idea if that actually works. But that'll definitely help prevent the user from being able to access anything from the server. But now that leaves the client side, which is any pages that have authorized attributes, the user is still able to get to because on their local machine, their jot has not been invalidated. It will always be valid for as long as it hasn't expired. And I think that's the only criteria for a jot running locally, the only thing that you can check, unless you inject your own manual authorize steps. So like one of the things could be you have, instead of roles, you could use the, what's the other thing? Policy for is active. And therefore user must be active and all of these other things. But that again is not going to update in the jot on the client side if you're doing some action on the server, unless there's an active connection to the server and you send a gRPC message or a signal arm message or some kind of real-time communication thing to the client, or on every page navigation or every authorized attempt that it queries the server and says, hey server, is this jot still active? Yeah, is the user for this jot still active? But that sounds like it's what you already did. So off the top of my head, without spending the rest of the stream on thinking about that, that's a pretty good approach in my opinion. Wasm. Set as startup. I don't even know if I have user secrets. Okay, this is SQL, local DB. But I guess we can, since we have no docs, we can try opening our secrets just to see if I have a secrets file on this machine for this project. I do. Cool. So the app is running. I will stake my reputation on it. This is Tyndall. You can do it, DDMS. Taking quite a while, DDMS. Refresh. DDMS. I don't know. I don't really want to wait that long to test this. Maybe on Friday we can revisit it and come up with a better answer. But at least in DDMS, it wouldn't be a good app to test it in. But I think that your approach right now, GokuJax, is a good approach. I mean, it is an approach, I should say, but it's not super detrimental unless you're getting, unless it's going to cause a lot of extra database queries. So if your app touches millions, then that means for every single request, you're doing an extra lookup that you might not need to do. Okay, let's get these into view model. I think I'm going to do it like this. Your database is busy. Please ask the mama base. It'll be something more like this. U arrows new. Right. U arrows. U. Oh no, did I catch the semicolon? Dang it. And now I'm clicking all over the wrong places. Ooh. Napalm is here. Hello, Napalm. What have you... Bleh. So thank you for saying hi, Nightlight. I'm going to learn how to use words now. What have you been up to lately? I got it out. I was able to say it using words. And Napalm. Napalm. Do we have a fake Thindle versus a real one? I don't think so. Like the way that you can spoof his name is by using a lowercase l instead of an I. Which is not really spoofing, it's just getting people to believe that you are him. Fake Thindle? No such thing. All Thindles are always real. Okay, so to view model. public static t lookup item view model to view model t lookup item view model. This no crap. This I lookup item, which is the database version. Right? So the thing that you have is implements lookup item base, which is an I lookup item. Cool. Oh, deity. All right. And this is going to be view model switch. This is going to work, right? Without me needing to do way too much extra work. Okay, so this turns into this. View model switch, curly bracy. Wait, view model dot type. List type. Yes, we can switch on an enum. Haha. Crap. We could also use pattern matching. I'll let X for now. That could work. Okay. So I think I'm going to do it this way for now. And conversation is, a second ago, it was in lowercase on my iPad. Bug maybe? Must be, says Stendhal. Live coding says, I know your pain. They will never fix iOS caps in chat. Stendhal said, sorry, was a tiny bit of AFK. Set up my video, photo stuff to capture a few headshots. That's what you meant by headshots. You weren't trying to play an FPS, you were trying to take pictures of yourself. I have a physical keyboard on iPad Pro, and when I'm on it and at someone, it auto-completes as lowercase. There are at least 2 of us now that have noticed. So every time you do at, then you get the lowercase autocomplete on an iPad. And I get caps on PC. Okay, I get it. I get it. Napalm says, honestly, I hate this thing for Twitch watching, but decided I should probably not watch on my employer's machine while working. Digsaw says, maybe your iPad is broken? Maybe. Perhaps. Napalm said, did I have physical keyboard? Fiscal keyboard. Dang it, I just lost my place. All right, live coding then said, crying face. The burden of using high-end Apple products, crying face. And then he said to Napalm, super pro tip, map your caps lock to escape on the iPad keyboard, especially since there is no physical escape key at all. Napalm says, what a horrible idea. I got this with the intent of RDPing into my desktop to do dev work at coffee shop. Not sure I will ever be able to tolerate doing that, though in actuality. And live coding says you won't, but it's a great case for casual web browsing and Twitch chat and Discord. Yeah, I got like my tablet, my Samsung Android tablet. I put Jump Desktop on it so that I had an easier way to remote into one of my computers so that I could do development that way. That works really nice. And then I have a Bluetooth keyboard in the case for the tablet. physical keyboard, I guess. And that works really well. The only thing that I don't like is Control Shift arrow keys is the shortcut key for changing which display is currently showing. Okay, so we should be able to select all these. Change you to X arrows. I'm gonna go up one, select you. Actually, no, that's it. Just to select that one. I like saying deselect, if you couldn't tell. Put a comma, and then it's gonna work for most of them, except for one. Delete the plural. Oh, and I guess you guys get the lookup in front. Okay, I think I did it. I could be wrong. I'm wrong often, but I don't mind being wrong. Oh man, I told my project manager that once. Like, I don't mind being wrong. I'm okay with doing a thing the way that I think is the right way to do it, and then I find out that it wasn't the right way to do it. Because then I learned something, and he did not like that. And it's like, I had so much struggle with striving for perfection as it was, that essentially being told you are not allowed to be wrong ever. You must always do things the right way. Perfectly the first time. Yeah. Okay, so now the other thing that I need to do is to turn these into a Lookup Item view model, which will be constrained by, it needs to be a class, and it needs to be an Lookup Item view model. So this will all need to be casted, and I think I can do it up here to a Lookup Item view model. But I need to have a default. And the default will be an exception. So I really don't like throwing exceptions as the way to handle one of these cases. I don't know what else to do. Right, and so these are all, so the reason that it is not liking this is because they are not all outputting the same type. So I do have to put the cast inside of here. That's dumb. And it says we cannot cast 2 or 3 a Lookup Item view model. Why not? Not convert from account Lookup Item view model to Lookup Item view model. So what I'm used to doing is dot of typing a list, but I don't think I can do that. Maybe we can change it to as, but this now has the danger of returning a null if it wasn't actually able to cast account Lookup Item view model to a Lookup Item view model. Which it has to. No, it doesn't, because if we manually do this in a way where we use two lookup item or two view model and we pass it, we specify the T lookup item view model that is not the correct one, then it's definitely possible this will be null. And hello, Max. How have you been? You came in right at the end of the stream, but it's so good to see you. I hope you've been having a great summer break thing, maybe. No. Me too. Okay, so I need to get rid of these, and then this is going to be the last thing that we do for now, but then we'll finish up on Wednesday. I'm pretty sure this is pretty close to the last thing that we need. Come on. Come on. We should be able to question mark default. Oh, because there is no closing parentheses. View model switch. As. This is the end of the switch statement. If the value that we get back is null. Oh. Maybe we can do new? Yeah. Okay, good. So I think this will work. We'll give it a shot on Wednesday. I need to finish writing the two entity. But that means that here we return a TLOOKUP item view model of that type as the data for our update. So that should be the finished update method on the server side. So we'll work on the client side call. Actually, no, that one's done too. So the client side call to update it is done as well. It is the lookup item state to actually perform the update. So this thingy here is what we'll do on Wednesday. Shouldn't take too long. And then we'll have the edit working. Then the last thing will be the delete, and then we should be done. So thank you all for hanging out, for being so amazing, for being cool. I hope you had a fun day today. Max says, I've stopped learning PHP and started learning JavaScript today. And second, I made my school exams. I was the best in my class. My average note was 1.5. I don't know what that means, but that is awesome. I know what being best in class means, so that is so cool. Congratulations on that. That is an achievement. So you can't see me. I'm here. I'm still here. Just wanted to say thank you again for being here. I am just going to go straight back to work. I'm not reading out today. I apologize for any inconvenience that may cause you, but I'm going to do that. But I hope you had a good time today. I will be back on Wednesday. You can check out a recording of this video no sooner than 24 hours on the YouTubes, which Dukasoft has just posted. Feel free to join us in Discord if you feel like it. We have a great community of people that love to help or just converse about technology-ish topics and random things. And thank you for coming out of Lurk to say take care. I hope you have a great day too, the Z-Man. Yeah, okay, that's it for me. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll be hanging about lurking on people's channels. 2 years. Yeah. Deflux just finished 2 years and 1 month of sub. That's crazy. Okay. So.